Hi, everyone. Welcome to a Q&A with our filmmakers following the screening of Sultana's Dream. My name is Jean Lauer, and I am happy to be hosting this. I'm really excited to jump into the Q&A, but before we do that, I want to invite our guests to each introduce themselves and let us know how they worked on the film.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Indy, Mimi, for having us here and having our film screen today. And my name is Isabel Herguera, and I'm the director of the film Sultana's Dream.
My name is Gianmarco Serra. I did the editing, I did the music and sound design, and I co-write the script with Isabel.
Hi, my name is Diego Herguera, and I also did everything else that was necessary to make the film happen.
Yeah, true.
He's
Except he's the producer.
He's the producer. As Gianmarco says, this is a family business in the sense of extensive family also in India and all over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I'm very thankful to Indie Meme for inviting me to host and to sharing this beautiful film with our audiences here in Texas. I was just blown away watching this film. So I am imagining that is how the audience is feeling right now too. It's quite a contemplative film. So I'm just gonna start by asking there's two big questions that I'd like to be sure we talk about. And one is the form, right? Like how you came to make this film this way. But let's start with just the story. Where did the story come from? I personally noticed perhaps some biographical elements, or at least, some nod to the main character being an animator. But I wondered if there were maybe more parts of this that were part of your story, Isabel. And then just generally, yeah, how did you come to making this feature film? It's my understanding it's your first feature, and you've made some shorts along the way. So how did you decide to make this?
Let's start with the beginning. I came across the book Sultana's Dream, and I believe it was in 2012 in New Delhi. And I came across the book just like you saw it in the film, just by accident. And as soon as I was holding the book and reading, just flying over Roquella's life and the story, I knew right away that I wanted to do something with it. At the beginning, we did not know what, and we started making some workshops with women in India in order to see the relevance of the story today. And this is where Ladyland is coming from. All the Mehendi artists that work on the film actually came out of this experience. And later on, the film evolved into a story that tells a little bit my alter ego, the story of Ines, and many of the places and scenes that describes, they were real, the rickshaw driver at the beginning of the scene, the lady on the tree, the visit to Vrindavan. I mean, there are so many. The place where they paint the elephant temple grounds, and all that is real, and it's a little bit is real and fiction is life coming together with fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is Gianmarco co-writing the script, and also bringing back a lot of other elements, which then make the whole thing just a piece of itself on itself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, would you like to also share how you came to be involved in the production?
Diego.
I think
Either
yeah.
one of you, yes.
Diego, yeah.
I'm the husband. So I was in India with
Oh, but you
Isabel.
co-wrote, no?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
co-wrote. Yeah. All this experience we shared from the beginning together, and that was mostly Isabel project, but I was there from the first day, and we decided to do the film together and to share. Isabel did the backgrounds and did the artwork, and I took, mostly the sound, music, and we spent lot of years in India. Isabel, I think from 2005. and so teaching there for many years in art schools. And so the film also is, it shows a lot of our life and our thoughts. And so at the beginning was the book and the story, Ladyland, so Sultana's Dream itself. And then little by little, we decided to put it in a bigger frame, which is also our life and our thoughts. And also to make it a bit more, let me say, not modern, but universal in terms of, of this topic of for women, to feel safe. It's something very common all over the world, we know, unfortunately. So that was a little bit the idea to have Ines, Isabel, making this journey, looking for the traces of Roqueia, looking for Ladyland, and probably also looking for something inside herself.
Mhm. Yeah, so Diego, also you sounded like you brought a lot to this. How did you decide to come on board?
So I saw the film grow up from the what used to be the short film,
Mhm.
with very based on interaction workshops with Mandy artists there, into a documentary mid-length feature, and then finally into an animation feature. And I think when it was at that point, I was working as an architect, and they called me and they said, we're going to India to do some workshops, and that's when I changed completely and started following this movie along, and then just pushed with all my heart into what we needed to do to produce the film, and then find all the financing, and then deal with all the problems that come with producing a feature film, in animation, and then yeah, just realizing that it can be possible, it can be made, and that beauty was born.
Diego is our nephew, huh? Let's be precise. Yeah, it's a co-production in between Spain for companies and Germany, and also there is India associate. So it's international co-production all over the world, let's say.
I have to ask, at what point did you decide to tell more of the biography of the author of Sultana's Dream as a Muslim woman and a prominent figure in India's history?
Because when I came across the book, I was completely fascinated by Ladyland, by the story itself, but also by the writer. And probably I was fascinated by the story because of by whom it was written of. As you said, it was like, a woman which grew up in a very conservative environment with no direct access to like formal education, and that she reclaimed, this like the knowledge or like education, women education, in order to like empower women. And I thought that it was like such a great character that at the beginning we thought, okay, let's make a short film about Ladyland, and let's make a film about like Begum Roqueia, yeah, Roqueia. Here is the cutout.
So
And
beautiful.
then we thought, but maybe it would be also great to build some kind of a frame in order to hold these like two stories together. And that is when we decided to incorporate the story of Ines, which is like in search of this, looking for Ladyland, and looking also for the traces and the background of Roqueia. And that is how it came to be.
And the story of why you choose the shadow.
And the story why I chose the shadow, because we had worked before in a scene for a film here in Spain. It was made with like shadow puppets, and I really loved the technique. And I thought also I thought it was like the right technique in order to represent the times of when Roqueia was growing up, beginning of 19th century. Probably, shadow puppets was the means of entertainment, and also like the way of like getting news from one place to another. And I thought, okay, well, this is like the right technique, and I did enjoy. This is one of the parts of the film that I did enjoy a lot making. Yeah.
Well, what was the part that was harder, maybe, that you enjoyed less? Because it is a very technically
challenging.
demanding, challenging, film.
I think the 2D part, the part of like the watercolor part, that's the most demanding. because it's also technically challenge, requires particular type of acting. In terms of budget is also like, the one that is like more expensive if you compare to like shadow puppets or like the mehendi part. So that was the most challenging for me, the part of the 2D, which is like traditional 2D animation.
Mhm. How many teams of animators did you have for this?
Well, go,
One.
you go.
Yeah, we only had one team. This is something we discovered, that to work well with Isabel, we needed not only one team all close together, but also kind of small team, and also they were mostly all girls, and they were young, and they were willing to learn, and they didn't bring all the training that maybe a senior animator has, that comes with like it's his own ideas. So it was really nice to see how Isabel worked with the young crowd, and how they were trained, and how they learned, to make this artwork, because it's a very specific type of animation that Isabel knows.
This is the 2D part. It was done
Yeah.
with one team in Almendralejo in the south of Spain, and maybe there were like 10 animators at the most, working in like at different times. The mehendi part was done fully in India, by a team that I have worked with them for many, many, many years. So they knew me well, and they are like wonderful animators. Blackbird,
Blackbird.
sorry, Blackbird animation. And the shadow puppets, it was done by an animator, two people, by an animator here in Spain, Maria Manero, and the composition, the After Effects was done by Edward Losegui, which is somebody, an artist also that I have worked with him many, many, many times. So it was like very much, they knew what I was like looking for. And Maria Manero animated the characters like under the camera, huh? No
Mhm.
After Effects, no nothing, just in the composition. So this was also like a great challenge to like animate the characters of the shadow puppets under the camera, directly under the camera.
And
How did you get the layering effect? Oh, I'm sorry, Diego.
no, I was just remembering, there's two cameos. There's two
And
animation
there is
cameos.
cameos, yeah, true. There is Isibel Herguera, who did the scene of the when Paul Preciado in the museum that we go into the vagina. That is
Mhm.
like a wonderful, wonderful artist and animator, Isibel Herguera, who she did that part, and another very good friend of mine, Begoña Vicario, which is also like a wonderful animator, also from the Basque Country, and she did one of the Martians. Remember the Martians, that they are like,
Mhm.
yeah.
The
So-
bad taste and
The Italian directors
the
knew
Italian
how to, or
director.
the
She had to make some bad taste animation.
yeah, because it was her dad, right, that wanted to make it
Yeah,
more
exactly,
in
exactly.
Italy. That's right.
Begoña Vicario is a very ironical person. She has a great sense of humor, so that's him. It's there.
That was pretty hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, I was curious what the mediums were to get the where you can see through the layers of the animation, right, as it's moving. Like, what were you working with?
After Effects is just like
Okay.
using like trying to reproduce the feeling of like watercolor, which is my sketchbooks are done in watercolors and inks, and trying to keep this transparency all the way through, and mostly with the character, because I don't like to have the feeling that the character doesn't belong to the background. I wanted to have the feeling that the character steps into a painting and it belongs, it's part of the painting. That's why of the sometimes the transparencies and this like feeling of like not being full, not being like, completely solid.
This also took a long time, because we had to do research, because it was the first time that we did it digitally. We combined analog and digital, but the animation and the color of the animation was done all digitally. So it took us like, I don't know, maybe like quite a few months to actually research and get like an effect that would imitate Isabel's other work.
All the backgrounds are all analog, but the
Painted by
characters
hands, yeah.
painted by hand. But the animation, the animation on the 2D part is painted in Photoshop.
we took some choices just because was also COVID during the time of production. So at the beginning, for example, the idea of Mandy was on the body, naked body of a woman, but then that was impossible because of COVID. So we also had to adjust a little bit the methodology in order.
The war also.
Oh
We
yeah.
also changed from the book The War because at the beginning in the book, if you check the book, the ladies they burn the enemies, but then started the Ukrainian war, and so we decided that was better not to kill anybody and to have just sound. And so we did little adjustments here and there, just during the process.
Mhm. I was going to ask about sound design next. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the character, the voice actors as well. Like, how did you choose your voice actors, and then how did you pull all of the different layers of sound together for this?
Okay, first of all, we had clear from the beginning, even against TVs in Europe, to have many languages and to defend that, because as you know, in Europe, TVs, they pretend to have only the national language and they dub everything. So we had to fight, but we maintained these 6 languages, main languages. Then there is also Sardinian in lullabies and Gujarati in the background in the Ahmedabad scenes, 8 languages in the film. But the sound design, we decided to underline the atmosphere, unless to to underline only the actions or what is needed for the frame. There is a lot of sound as you can there is dog barkings and TVs and people talking. In general, this is noise and you remove. But we decided to push that more than the actions, and all the sounds are coming from the places. So it's original sound, and we conceive also the music not just for the film, but changing completely the hand, let's say, for the scenes. So you can have sitar in Bengal, but you have contemporary music in Rome. And so we took that decision to have a very different atmospheres with the music during the film.
And all the recordings of the places, they actually were recorded on the places that we, represented in the film. So San Sebastian, that scene on the waterfront, we did the recording on the waterfront in San Sebastian in India, also like the different places we were in, like Calcutta, we were in Ahmedabad. All is like a recreation of the actual place with the actual recordings that we recorded from the original place.
Mhm. I wanted to also, you talked a little bit about changing the book, which I wasn't aware of. I haven't found the story yet, but I do plan to. But there's a number of political commentaries floating throughout, or nods to. There's the poster of Je suis Charlie, right, in that, and there's other nods that are less obvious, and I probably missed a bunch, but I was very curious about where you decided to be political, what you decided to have commentary about, and why that was important to you as part of this world that Inés is exploring.
Well, actually, the Charlie Hebdo, that it was like hanging in my studio, so that to incorporate things which were part of my regular environment. Also, like in the library at the university, there is like all those posters of like Indian women writers and like intellectuals, the same as in the bookstore. It's like actually it was just based on life experience. So it was not necessary to also force any like political statement, just like to reproduce reality and to be inspired by the events that we have lived so close. And there is a lot of like Easter eggs regarding films, all many mentions to films. And
there is the shadow, the shower, which is Psycho from Hitchcock. There is Fellini, 8.5.
There is Truffaut with the
Truffaut, the
with the
cat.
cats.
There is Eisenstein. You remember the Mogul smiling and making that
Yeah.
from Ivan the Terrible. Then there is Buñuel, the waiters, philosophers,
Yeah.
a bit pedantic. Then was Apu.
Apu, yes,
yeah,
the fiction Apu from
yeah.
Satire Ray.
There's Antonioni, there is Bergman, 1 and 1,000 Silences, the silence of God, and then, when she's looking for answers and there is no answer. So 1,000 no answers, and many others. Yeah, books, because Ines loves books, loves cinema, loves to go to the museums, and there is also a lot of reference there, so because it's part of our life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I may have totally just read this in myself, but I felt like part at the end was a bit of a reference to Wizard of Oz in the sense of like we travel so far, but home, right? We know where home is all along. It's with us, right? So I thought that was really
That's an
sweet as
interesting
well.
reading. Yeah, that's
There's no ruby slippers, but
yeah, that's nice. Very nice. True.
yeah. Well, so, we're watching this on the other side of the world from you. What do you hope that this film shares with us here in Austin? What are some of the things that you hope we take away from this with us today?
So the producer, Diego, is from San Diego. So he's from California, not so far. Anyway, so I think that the film can be universal. And I think I think it's an honest film. We try to be honest. We never thought about the audience, There are films that you make for audience and with the packaging and with, some rules. But we decided, for me, just was to make the best film as possible and the most honest as possible. And that's it. That was the result that we were looking for, to have something really honest.
Yeah, and in that sense, I think it like touches women all over, no matter where you're coming from, what your background is. There is like something which is common on all of us, and this is such a universal thing. Also because of this like honesty, which is like treated without having to give being too rhetoric about it, just like treated in a very normal and natural manner.
Diego, you?
Yeah, and I think we just our guideline was to follow beauty, right? We tried to reproduce it as much as we could. And me as a producer, what I would try to do is have it the highest quality possible, which was we tried really hard to. And I think you can appreciate it.
So beauty, life, truth.
Yeah.
I love it. Congratulations, you all, on really a very, very moving film. I need to watch it at least a few more times, I'm sure, to get all of it, which is the most rewarding experience you can have with the film, right? To really feel invited back to unpack more of it. So thank you so much for this wonderful work of art.
Thanks to you.
Yeah. And thank you again to Indie Meme for hosting us today, and thank you to everyone who's shared this time with us this evening.
Thank you, Indie Meme.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye from Spain.
Bye-bye.